coach, John Madden. In 10 seasons at the helm of the Oakland Raiders, he achieved a .759 winning percentage, the highest in NFL history for anyone who coached at least 100 games. His 1976 Raiders were 13-1 and went on to win the franchise's first Super Bowl title. And there you have it, the Hall of Fame class of 2006.
You've got 2 quarterbacks again. Now there are 23 quarterbacks in the Hall. You've got a lineman. You've got a real Dallas contingent here. These were people that were great on the field, but as we're learning, they're great men. They're great family men. They're great in their communities. They're great in with their schools and their churches. They're awesome people.
Bob Greasy, who joined us on NFL Total Access on Friday, strolling up to the stage, and Michael Haynes, an old
boy, they don't make corners like that anymore.
Yeah,
6'2" corner.
And John Madden going in, Oakland Raider head coach, and one of the guys who helped keep alive that whole, era as Ted Hendricks walks to the stage, a man who kept that sort of John Madden Oakland Raider flame alive. Howie Long is with Adam Schefter.
Welcome back to Canton, Howie. You know defensive linemen as well as anybody. Talk about the defensive lineman that Reggie Wright was.
You know, very few players in my mind are ahead of their time. Lawrence Taylor at the outside linebacker position, in my mind, was ahead of his time. Kellen Winslow at the tight end position. I think now we see a lot of Kellen Winslows, and not at that level, but Gonzalez, guys like that, Shockey. Who would have thought all the tight ends would be 6'5", 255, and run the way they do? Outside linebacker, same thing. Reggie was 6'6", 310, depending upon which week it was. And he played up and down the line, defensive tackle, nose tackle, defensive end. And the thing that I find most impressive about Reggie, and I think it's what separates him from everyone else, is everyone knew what was coming, and you couldn't stop it. He was a true juggernaut, a really impressive guy physically, someone that big that could move that fast, changed the fates of the Green Bay Packers. Ron Wolf brought him there from Philadelphia. It was really the kind of the catalyst for all the free agency moves that superseded that. I think he was a pioneer and someone who was ahead of his time.
How much does it mean to you today to see another member of the Raiders family be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
John is a multi-dimensional icon. He's an icon as a coach. He's an icon as a broadcaster. You and I wouldn't be sitting here making the goofy money that we make.
That you make.
Well, we all do well. We're fortunate, and I think he redefined broadcasting both from a broadcasting standpoint, from an economic standpoint, but also from an endorsement standpoint. But at the end of the day, I think this induction was long overdue. That's one. And two, when I say congratulations to John, it's not as John Madden, the broadcaster. It's not as John Madden, the pitchman, or the guy that has introduced himself to multiple generations of teenagers through his video games. It's John Madden, the coach, because that's what John Madden is in for. Coach John Madden.
Howie, thanks for joining us. Very much appreciated. Howie Long, the great Raiders defensive lineman. Back to you guys.
You could say that again, Adam Schefter. We're going to take a break right now, get a little bit more ducks in a row, and watch some more old Hall of Famers stroll to the stage. Don't go anywhere. Stage, Jim Otto, the center for John Madden, Steve Mariucci.
Well, he had about 10 of those guys from the 70s on that Raiders team that are inducted into the Hall of Fame. One
of the best quotes I read in a recent article on John Madden is Jim Otto says, John Madden's a Hall of Fame coach, and I'll fight anybody who says he isn't.
Does that sound like a Raider?
It does sound like a Raider. Folks like Gale Sayers, the old Chicago Bear great, Art Shell, here to coach the game in front of Fred Volentnikoff on Art Shell's staff, just like Jackie Slater, who was introduced moments ago. So there's Marcus Allen, old Raider, who went in a couple of years ago.
Willie Davis.
Willie Davis. The guys who just pick out of there and just remember how great they were. And there is the manager of the general partner. coming in. Look at that, in the dark suit, the silver tie, getting set to deliver his 9th introductory speech here in Canton. Always has the glasses on the string there around the neck. Al Davis is in the house. He will present John Madden this afternoon. Al Davis is here. We can officially start it. Steve, how fantastic.
That's great to see him. Can you imagine he's done this 9 times?
I mean,
who presented him?
Who presented him? John Madden presented him.
Is that right?
Yeah, coming full circle. By the way, you know, this is new to you. You can't ask the host a question you may not know the answer.
Sorry.
Thankfully,
is that the right answer?
He's filled me with information throughout the last week. And you know, and again, you think about this class that Al Davis is introducing John Madden, and there's a guy who's waited that long, and then 3 people who are going in for the very first time, including the first time ever a first ballot Hall of Famer gets inducted posthumously in Reggie White. It is quite a group that you mentioned about earlier.
Very eclectic group, and from Reggie to John Madden and Rayfield Wright and the quarterbacks, it's just it's a special group, and they've got some interesting presenters too. You know, not just Al Davis, but you got 2 sons. You got Donald Carson and you got Jeremy White presenting. That's really special to see a child present a Hall of Famer. So it's going to be very emotional. I got a feeling.
And Jared Payton, just over a decade ago, was the very first son to introduce a father here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And last year we saw Dan Marino's son do it, and he did a fantastic job as well. And we expect an emotional moment when Donald Carson introduces his father, as Donald, 23 years of age last year, stepping to the stage. So he's already on it, the podium. They have she saw moments ago, the class of 06 is standing waiting in the wings with those jackets that they got last night. Al Davis in the house, himself a Hall of Famer, and the commissioner is there getting ready to welcome John Madden, Troy Aikman, and Rayfield Wright, a couple of Cowboys going in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I wonder what Madden must be thinking right now. But it's time now to hear from Commissioner Paul Tagliabue doing his 17th and final speech at an induction ceremony as commissioner.
Good afternoon.
His son here at Fawcett Stadium. We're talking about Dallas Cowboys, talking about Oakland Raiders, we're talking about the coach. You know this is an emotional moment. He is tearing up right now. He's been waiting for this for 27 years.
27 years, and to go in as a coach, because that's what he loves the most. And yes, all generations know John Madden, but he loves being recognized as Coach Madden. I know that.
And he will be today, going in as a coach. One of the more beloved and recognizable faces and personalities. Art Shell, his old offensive lineman, who's coaching on this field tomorrow night. Beaming. Fred Biletnikoff, beaming. John Madden is holding back tears. I believe we may see something.
Yes, he's an emotional guy when he's in his
years, respectively. So it is time to get down to the business of putting people in the Hall of Fame. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Got the jacket, but it's soaking in his final moments as a non-Hall of Famer in his life. John Madden, what must be going through his head right now, Steve?
I think he's probably rehearsing his talk over and over again in his mind. I'm sure they all are. You see Al looking down at his notes. I think they know that the country's watching. You got a lot of people here. It's a very important day, and they want to be good, and they want to say the right things. And I'm sure that's heavy on their mind right now.
About 6 years ago, I was seated in a very prominent restaurant with my mother and some of the top people in professional football, some of the top writers, and we were talking about signing of players. And my mother asked me, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I've got problems. I haven't signed Mike Haynes, Todd Christensen, Lester Hayes, and I named 2 others. And I said, they just want too much money. Her answer was, without them, what kind of team you're going to have? Give them the money. You can't take it with you.
And a lot of Davis dollars have been pumped into the local community this week as billboards congratulating John Madden for his induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame are all over town here. And that was a speech that Al Davis delivered 14 years ago as he was inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as introduced by that man, John Madden, who in a matter of moments will be introduced by Al Davis, who is flown in all the way from the West Coast to deliver a record 9th introductory speech at a Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we can't wait to hear, not only because he's Al Davis, not only because he's so steeped in history, but once again, in case you're joining us, all of the presenters have been given their speeches beforehand to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I have in my hand 5 of them.
There's only 5.
There's one missing because one wasn't
Who do you
currently
think that
delivered.
might be?
Probably Al Davis. So we don't know sort of what he's going to say.
Anything could happen here, Rich.
The ultimate maverick about to introduce John Madden, and he's got the silver tie, the black shirt.
Yeah, he always wears the either white sweatsuit or
the
black
tracksuit,
or
right,
of course
yeah.
the silver, and that's what you always see him at, whether it's at the combine or over at the facility.
Right.
He's silver and black, true and true. I don't know who I'm more anxious to hear, Al Davis or John Madden.
John Madden. It's certainly going to be quite an entertaining matter of moments we're about to be privy to. Look at that. They're all here. The Black Hall is very well represented. And John Madden, he is no doubt nervous, and he does have, appears to be prepared comments under his right arm right there. We can't wait to hear what John is going to say, as he's waited 27 years for this moment to come. You had to pull him off the ceiling in Detroit. He was so walking on air when he found out that he was finally going in. And as a coach, too, Steve.
As a coach, that's what he wanted. As a coach, and he enjoyed such a great career. When I interviewed him back a month ago, that weekend he was having a party. His son was throwing a party at his home, and he said, "I'm going to go practice my speech."
There you go. Here's Al Davis. Sit back and enjoy, people.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. It's always great to come back to the Hall of Fame. Today, it's a very emotional and inspirational experience for me to present the great John Madden into the enshrinement in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. John Madden, a brilliant coach, a loyal and trusted friend, a Raider. His record is self-explanatory. 103 victories in 10 years is unparalleled in National Football League history. The Raiders always wanted to have the best organization in professional sports, wanted to have the best players, the best coaches, play in the best games, have the best plays, and have the best record in professional football. And some 40 years ago, I hired a 32-year-old coach to carry the torch for the Raiders and do all the things that I just talked about that we wanted to do. John Madden, over the 10 seasons of his coaching career, he led the Raiders to the playoffs 8 of those years, including 7 division championships, bringing the Raiders their first world championship. John's .759 regular season percentage ranks as the highest ever with coaches in the National Football League. John coached in the golden era of great coaches. In his 10 years, John coached against many who are enshrined in this Hall of Fame. Don Shula of Miami, Chuck Noll of Pittsburgh, Tom Landry of Dallas, Weave Eubanks, Sid Gilman, Hank Stram, Bud Grant, and others who are enshrined in this Hall of Fame. John's first professional head job, he was 32 years old. And John did what you would call the impossible. In his 10 years of coaching against these great legends, he won more games than he lost against every Hall of Fame coach in this great shrine here in the National Football League. His record, and of course his record was the Raiders' record of 36-16-2 against those great coaches. Dominating the stage that was Monday Night Football, Madden's teams had a record of 11-1-1, and boy, did the Raiders dominate Monday Night Football. I told you we wanted to play in the greatest games. We wanted the greatest plays. You all remember the Immaculate Reception. You all remember the Heidi game. You all remember Sea of Hands, the Holy Roller, Ghost to the Post, the Lytle Fumble, the miracles of George Blanda, the man on the sideline during all those events that have become synonymous with Raider football was John Madden. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league, and you can see it today in everything he does with his games and his TV work. He loved the AFL and the NFL, and especially his players. And at a time when our country needed it, John Madden saw no color. The Raiders, more than any other organization, politically, football, sports, led the fight for diversity, and John Madden was in the middle of that fight. It was pretty tough in those days, in the 70s and in the early 80s, to lead that fight. But the Raiders had one thing in mind. We wanted to win. And to win, you had to have the best players. And so, as I said, he saw no color. 9 Raider legends, 9, are in this hall. The indestructible Jim Otto, he's here today. The great clutch player George Blanda. The undefeated Willie Brown, who was only beaten by Father Time as a cornerback. The magical hands of Fred Blitnikoff. The famed Highway 63 and 78. Gene Upshaw, president of the Players Association. And Art Shell, head coach of the Raiders. Ted Hendricks is here today, the great linebacker. And of course, the ghost to the post, Dave Casper, along with myself, have waited patiently for some 25 years for John to join us as enshrined in this Hall of Fame. We recognize you, Virginia Madden. That's John's wife, his sons Mike and Joey. They were a football family so that John could pursue his dreams. Because when you worked for Al Davis and you worked for the Raiders, there was no time for golf. There was no time for the kids. There was one thing: Raider football, silver and black football. To Virginia, our friendship will always continue. You were there when it was important, and we'll be there for you. Today is a day when our heroes of the past become our legends of the future. I've said this before. Time never really stops for the great ones. We wrap them in a cloak of immortality and remember what great people they were. It's a great inspiration for me to come to this Field of Dreams every year. I've had the honor to present 9 other people, 8 who played for the Raiders, 1 who played for the San Diego Chargers, the great Lance Allworth. But I love to come here because I wanted to pay tribute to this great class: Aikman, Carson, Moon.
the great Rayfield Wright, and the others, Madden, of course. And I wanted to say hello once again to the great players behind me in whose glory we all shared, those legends. And it has always, as Harry Carson said, brought a realization to the Raiders that we owe a debt to these great people behind us. And as I've said before, the Raiders will never forget that debt. But let's go back to Oakland for a moment. Let's go back to the 1970s. Let's fill that stadium one more time with the staff and the administrative people who poured their heart and soul into the Raiders. Let's go back to the great Raider warriors who are here today, and to those who are no longer with us, but whose memories we cherish, and those great Raider warriors who are watching up there today, who will lead us in the future. I say, let's line you up under the goalpost one more time. One more time. And have you introduced, all individually, once again, to roar of that Oakland crowd. We can never forget those great moments. The roar would be deafening to see you trot out in those black jerseys, those silver helmets. John Madden, the chill goes through my body as I hear that roar and think of all those special people. But see you, John, down on the sidelines, prowling those sidelines, yelling at officials, that flaming red hair, those arms moving left and right, screaming at Raider players, and most of all, winning football games. But that is fantasy. And fantasy isn't the answer here today. But what is not fantasy is you coming up to this podium to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, the great John Madden.
John Madden getting introduced by Al Davis. Here's John's speech.
You know, you always think of, what it would be like if you ever enshrined into the Hall of Fame, and people say, what will you do when you get up to the podium? And I tell them, I don't know. I'll tell you when I get up there. And right now, I don't have a lot of, I got like numb. A tingle, from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. This is so special. All the guys talk about who's going to, break up. I started to break up when Al Davis was talking. And so, if they have a contest or any bet, I knew I was going to lose that one anyway. But I just wanted to take this first moment just to make a memory and, say how special this feeling is. To be in here, in Canton with these great people of Canton, Ohio. You can't believe the job that they do. It's not only today, the game, the parade. They have 100,000 people. It's a parade at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is a special place. And this is a celebration of football. And when you celebrate pro football, it has to be here in Canton, Ohio, because this is where the NFL started. And I want to thank you people and all the pro football fans and the pro football writers that voted me into the Hall of Fame, led by Frank Cooney and Ira Miller. A special thanks to them, but everyone that made that possible. It was a long wait, but it was a wait that when you finally get in, it's made it all worthwhile because the feeling is so special and you appreciate it so much more. And the class that I go in with, I mean, Harry Carson and Rayfield Wright and Warren Moon and Reggie White and Sarah, and Troy Aikman is such a great thing, and I'm proud to be in this class because we're always going to be connected with each other. We'll always be, the class of 2006, and that'll be forever. And I'll tell you, these are all good people, good guys, and I am proud as hell to go into this 2006 Hall of Fame class with these guys. These are good and smart people. And then, the Hall of Famers behind me. That's what it's all about. I was reading the NFL stats and history book, and that's what you do when you ride a bus when you don't fly. You read big old thick books like that. But they had a chapter on history. And the first page in the chapter of history was a list of the Hall of Famers. And I said, that's right, they got it. That is our history. The players that played before us, the players that played when they didn't have face masks, when they had leather helmets, when got this thing started, the players that played in smaller stadiums, didn't have the medical thing, didn't have anything, they laid the foundation for this great game, and we should never forget it. I say to NFL teams that you ought to honor your history more. Sometimes we tend to get caught up in the players and the games now. Honor your history. Bring back the Hall of Famers. Bring back their teammates. Let the fans show their appreciation to their history. Because I know that, going in with these guys is so special. And, we'll always talk about immortality, and some of us think maybe we will be immortal, that we'll live forever, but when you really think about it, we're not going to be. But I say this, and this is overwhelming and mind-blowing, that through this bust, with these guys in that hall, we will be forever. And, when you think of that, it just blows your mind that it's forever and ever and ever. And you have to stay with me a moment on this one. This is a little goofy here, and you're going to say, oh, there's old Madden being goofy again. But I started thinking about this after I got voted into the Hall of Fame. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's true. And now I know it's true and I believe it. Here's the deal. I think over in the Hall of Fame that during the day the people go through and they look at everything. And then at night there's a time when they all leave. And all the fans and all the visitors leave the Hall of Fame. Then there's just the workers. And the workers start to leave. And then it gets down, there's just one person. And that person turns out the light, locks the door. I believe that the bust talk to each other. And I can't wait for that conversation. I really can't. To Vince LaMarche, to Newt Rockne, to Reggie, to Walter Payton, to the guys that you want to say, to all my players, my ex-players, we'll be there forever and ever and ever talking about whatever. And that's what I believe, and that's what I think is going to happen, and no one's ever going to talk me out of that. Thank you. Those guys back here all going, oh no, I don't have to put up with this BS for eternity. But this is a celebration, and it should be fun, and it has to be great. And to have Al Davis here is something special. I mean, if it weren't for Al, I wouldn't be here. And he was the guy that gave me an opportunity. He was the guy that hired me 40 years ago, brought me into pro football. He was the guy that made me a head coach when I was 32 years old. And I had 2 years of pro coaching experience. Now that's where, who the heck names a guy 32 years old as a head coach? Al Davis did. But he not only named me head coach, but he stood behind me, and he helped me, and he provided me with players, with great players. As he was saying, 9 of the players were in the Hall of Fame. I mean, those are the types of players that he provided me with. And he stood behind me not only the 10 years I was a head coach, but he stood behind me for the last 40 years. And Al Davis is a friend, always has been a friend. I remember I had the opportunity to induct him into the Hall of Fame, and at the time I said, talking about loyalty and what a guy Al Davis was, I said that he's the guy that, if you had anything happen, you had one phone call, who would you make that phone call to? I said it would be Al Davis. All these years later, I had an opportunity. I got voted into the Hall of Fame. I had a phone call to make for a presenter, and I called Al Davis. And I just talked to my mom, and she's watching, and hi Mom, I love you. And I know I was talking about how excited I am and how I haven't slept in 3 days, and my mind is mushing. She just said, me too. And she has the same feelings, and she's not right here, but she's here in spirit, and she's a special person that's been with me, for 70 years of my life. And I know that my dad, who died in 1960, is up there looking down and laughing. And my mom's probably laughing right now, too, because when I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing in summer baseball, and I was playing on 3 or 4 different teams. And I told my dad, I'm going to drop a couple of these because I want to get a job to make some money. And my dad said, no, he said, I'll give you a couple bucks, go caddy, make a few loops, and you'll be okay. He said, don't work. He said, because once you start work, you're going to have to work the rest of your life. And my dad worked hard. He was a mechanic, and he worked hard. And the reason I say that he's up there laughing right now is because I listened to him, and I continued to play, and I have never worked a day in my life. I went from player to coach to a broadcaster, and I am the luckiest guy in the world. And my sisters, Dolores and Judy, they were there with me. They supported, everything that I did, because life with me as a kid was just a locker room. Every day was recess, and they knew that, and they went along with it and supported everything, and I love them, and I appreciate that. If there was a Hall of Fame for families, my family would be in the Hall of Fame. My wife, Virginia, my 2 sons, Joe and Mike. They talk about how hard coaches work, and they work 18, 20 hours a day. They sleep on a couch. They don't come home. And that's not the hard job. The hard job is a coach's wife, believe me. The job of the coach's wife is she has to be mother, father, driver, doctor, nurse, coach, everything, because the coach is out there working. So, when anyone is appreciated, they have to appreciate the wife, and I had the greatest, and I have the greatest in Virginia. Thank you. Stand up, you deserve it. After all those years putting out, you deserve to stand up and take a bow on this day. And my 2 sons, Mike and Joe, I'm so proud of them. They're not only my 2 sons, but they're my 2 best friends. And just everything that they do. I used to, when they were kids, I used to take them to practice on Saturdays, and I'd take them to the Pro Bowl, and I coached Pro Bowl way too damn many times, but I used to take them to the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl, every time I could, and those were special times. As I look back now, in my coaching career, I think of my family, and I think of the days that we spent together. And I say this to coaches everywhere: If you ever have a chance to take your kids with you, take them. Don't miss that opportunity. Because when it's all over and done with, and you look back, those are going to be your fondest memories. And when you go into Hall of Fame, at my age, then you have kids who have wives, and then they have kids. So Mike's wife is Noelle, Joe's wife is Wendy. And then between them, they've given me 5 grandkids that I love to death. And they're the love of my life. They're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Sam, Jack, Jesse, Aiden, and McKenna. And that's what it's all about. It's about family and having them here with your team. I know I go into the Hall of Fame as a coach, and I know that I go into the Hall of Fame because of my players and what they did. And I'm so proud, Al already introduced the players that are in the Hall of Fame behind me. If they just stand up, and all my players that are out there's between 30 and 40 X-rated players. All stand up. Stand up. My family, stand up. Stand up. Just take your day. Just take. You remember them. You remember Cliff Branch. You remember Phil Villapiano. You remember Big Ben Davidson. You remember all these guys. John Valla, Henry Lawrence. All these guys that did all these things. And no, stay up. Stay up. This is our day in the sun. Doggone it, take it. If we're here, stay up and take it, and you guys stand up and take it too. Fred Blitnikoff, the whole thing, Big Ben Davidson there. These are the guys. This is what it was all about. These are the guys that I go in here and stand up, Ben. All of a sudden, 30 or 40 years ago, they were ready to hit anything, talk anything, let's go to the party, let's do all this. Now they want to sit down. Stand up, enjoy the moment. This is ours. They can't take it away from us. They can't ever take us away from us. And thanks to all you guys. The whole bunch of you. I love you. Thank you very, very much. Mark Hubbard, you remember all those great Raider names in the 70s, and we had such special fans, and the whole thing. It was just something that I'll never forget, and something that if it weren't for them, we'll have a party after too, so don't worry about it. We'll go through, and it's been a great road from Madden's lot in Daly City with John Robinson. John, who would believe this, huh? It's amazing. And to Jefferson High School with my first real coach, Joe McGrath, and then to Roy Hughes at Cal Poly, and my roommate Pat Lovell is here, my college roommate. Then to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Norm Van Brocklin had a great influence on me. To Hancock College with Al Baldock. Then to San Diego State with a great coach that someday will be in here, Don Coryell. And he had a real influence on my coaching. And Joe Gibbs was on that staff too. And then we went to the Oakland Raiders. John Roush was the head coach. Ollie Spencer, Tom Doms, Charlie Sumner, John Polanchik was there. Joe Spinella, Tom Flores came later. All those great coaches. John Robinson. I thank you all because again, you go in as a coach. But you take your players and your assistant coaches with you, and it's been so long that I had a pretty good road afterwards also. And I ride a bus, I don't fly, and the road has been with Dave Hahn, who was my first bus driver, who passed away, Willie Yarborough, Joe Mitchell. I spend so much time with them that they're part of my team now and my family. And then Sandy Montag is my agent. He's been with me for over 20 years, and agent schmagent. He's a friend, and he's a very good friend, and I thank him for everything that he has done for me. And and my years at CBS and Fox were pretty good. Pat Summerall, and and that team, and Bob Stenner and Sandy Grossman, and then I say I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Then I go to ABC and now NBC with Al Michaels, Fred Gaudelli, and Drew Esikoff. And by the way, we have a game right over here tomorrow night. So you talk about a full weekend. I mean, man, they have dinners and parades and, you know, induction ceremonies, and then a game tomorrow night, which will be broadcasting the first one that I do with NBC. So I just want to say in closing that it's been a great ride. And I want to thank everyone who's been along for any part of it. And speaking of great rides, I was lucky enough to be carried off the field after we won Super Bowl 11. Now, I was told it took like 5 or 6 guys to lift me up, and then they dropped me. But that's okay, because that was me and that was them. I mean, they aren't going to carry me off like, you know, some guy belonged to a carry. I mean, you carry him off for a while, boom, you dump him. I'm there and they're gone. But it was the happiest moment of my life. And today feels like the second time in my life that I'm being carried off the shoulders of others. Yet instead of off the field, it's into the Hall of Fame. And instead of 5 or 6 guys, today I ride on the shoulders of hundreds of friends, coaches, players, colleagues, family. And I just say this, I thank you all very much. And this has been the sweetest ride of them all. Thank you.
Well, Steve Mariucci, it was as advertised, was it not?
It was great. You know, Al Davis said something that really impressed me. When John competed, we knew his record was 103 wins in 10 years, but when he competed against all the other Hall of Fame coaches, his record was 36-16. That's amazing against that great competition.
And then I guess the memorable part of the speech is when he had all of his players who were in attendance stand up, and he was still coaching them, telling them to keep standing.
See what he did? He had his family and his players and coaches. That's the Raider Nation, the Raider family that they talk about, and that was touching because there's so many of them. There's so many Raiders around here, and there's so many inducted into this hall, and boy, they're all here. We
also got a boom out of that. At the end of the boom, you know, and then we also got the sort of language that he's become so popular for when he talked about how all the busts, when the room closes for the night, they all talk to one another, and he says that we're gonna talk forever and forever and forever about whatever. That couldn't have been more Madden in a nutshell, right there.
Drive all the other busts crazy because he won't stop.
That's what he said.
Forever.
Well, we're halfway in the books. We're 2 hours plus into the ceremony, but we're halfway through the Canton class of 2006 being enshrined in the...
Talk to him now. But, you know, that was an idea that I had, you know, shortly after I got voted into the Hall of Fame. The busts talk to each other. The more I talked about it, the more I thought about it. I think they do, and the more I believed in them. And I thought, well, no, this is just a goofy idea. And then I thought, you know, there's something to it. And after I was finished up there, Merlin Olsen came up to me and says, you know, I think they do too.
He seconds that emotion. I like that. That's great. And also I think everybody enjoyed it when you made all your players in attendance stand up and tell them to stay up and soak it in.
You know, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you know, Steve knows that. You know, I mean, your coaching success is your players, and I had good players. I mean, you know, we talked about the players in the Hall of Fame, but I had a lot of other real good players, and there was like 35 of them there today, you know, that played for me, and that was just so special. I just didn't want to say, hey, thanks for all the players to come. I mean, you know, this is our day in the sun. Let's take it. You know, I mean, you know, these were great years, great times. You know, this bust is going into the Hall of Fame. You guys are riding on it, and you know, doggone it, stand up and share in the moment.
Well, what was neat too, you had your family, your immediate family stand up with your Raider family, because they're the ones that say goodbye to Dad when you're in coaching and broadcasting too. You know, they've been so supportive of your careers, And it's so great to include your family with your Raiders family, and I'm sure they're so proud.
And to me, that's what it was all about. I mean, to have my family there, and then as you go in older, you have a lot of a family. You know, I mean, you just don't have a wife and kids. I mean, you got kids, and then they have wives, and then they have kids, and pretty soon you got kids all over, and grandkids, and kids sleeping, kids drinking milk and stuff, and it's just an extended thing. And then you go to your players, and I don't know. I mean, I just got caught up and all that, but that's what it's all about. I mean, as you get out of coaching and you look back, it was all about the things that you did with your family and how important they were, and the things that you did with your team, and they really were the same. I mean, the family and the team the same.
I mean, your contributions to the sport are voluminous, to say the least. Your broadcasting career and your video game that kids are playing forevermore, including the players. I mean, every single player plays that video game, John. But what does it mean to you that you went in as a coach?
I've always considered myself a coach. I mean, that I was a coach who did those other things. I never, considered myself a broadcaster. I never considered myself a game expert, video game type of guy. I'm a coach that developed a video game, and I'm a coach who went into broadcasting. And when I broadcast like a coach.
And now you're a coach in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, boy, does that sound good, Rich. Doggone it. I'm so doggone happy. Shoot.
You can't tell.
Well, I haven't slept, I swear, I haven't slept a normal night's sleep in like 4 or 5 days. I get like 2 or 3 hours sleep a night. So whatever this feeling is pretty good because it works. Yeah. And I think it's adrenaline. I think I'm just running on adrenaline.
Well, you got a broadcast on Sunday night, too, and then a whole nother season on NBC Sunday nights. We look forward to seeing you then, and thanks for sharing with us today, John. We appreciate that.
Congratulations. Have a great season.
Thank you.
That is John Madden, old coach of the...
Congratulations on presenting your 9th person into the Hall of Fame. What's it like to present 9 people?
Well, every one of them was either a great player or a great friend, and it's the love and affection of most of them. The first one is a truly great player, still one of the great players of all time, Lance Allworth, and I have a love affair with him. I have a love affair with John Madden, who is a close friend, personal friend, and all of them are special, and you have to treat them all special and try to get the verbiage that satisfies them and their families.
Now, I saw that you called over the bus here to take some pictures with John Madden.
Yeah.
What's that like to have some extra pictures here after the ceremony that you'll have for a long time?
Well, I thought, there's 2 great friends of mine.
Jerry Jones.
I'm not worried about Jerry Jones. I'm talking about the other one, the good-looking one. How you doing? No.
We're going to bring him over here, your little friend.
Got it, Gene?
Here we come. Mr. Jones, come on in here. Come on in here.
You're coming. You'll get it someday. No. Hey, that is a gorgeous outfit. That's a gorgeous outfit.
I got a little black on, too.
No, Sue, that's gorgeous.
Hey, I got the black pants on here, too.
So who's it a bigger day here for, Mr. Jones? You or Mr. Davis?
Well,
it always is. They're young. Mr. Davis is going into the sunset, and they're young.
Anybody that believes that, I'm going to sell them. What are the Brooklyn Bridge is the old proverb.
The Brooklyn Bridge.
Hey, I'll tell you this right now. What a thrill that was with that John Madden and those stories he was able to tell. And
he's pretty good, John. Yeah.
Well,
what do you want, Adam?
I want you to keep talking there, Mr. Davis, about Mr. Madden.
No, John's a great person. He's a great friend, and I'm just happy he finally reached the pinnacle that he always wanted. He always wanted it strongly, and I'm just happy for him. So,
which Raider is missing from the Hall of Fame that's not here?
There's no question that you can mention the name of Flores, Plunkett, Stabler, Cliff Branch. Definitely, he should be in that Hall of Fame without any question. And his turn will come. Lester Hayes came in. He was on the trip. And we just got a ton of them. Flores won 2 Super Bowls. Branch has won 3 Super Bowls. And we just got to do a better job. We've been working on competition committee and commissioners and all those things instead of getting these guys in the Hall of Fame like they deserve it. Jerry Jones, he can come in for the Raiders.
For the Raiders?
Yeah, hell yes. He's my friend. My close friend, yes.
Art Shell is also in the Hall of Fame. How is your head coach going to fare this season?
Well, now you're getting into things that you came to see me. That was going to be your first question, and we're not going to answer that today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. I appreciate it very much.
Just be nice to us, Adam. Just remember, you don't work for the Denver Broncos. Just remember that.
For those who may not know, Adam Schefter was a beat reporter for the Broncos for a very long time. But Al Davis didn't forget that. Huh?
That was huge. That
was huge.
That interview was amazing. You know, Al Davis has such a storied career, He mentioned Lance Allworth.
Yeah, right.
Because he was his position coach in San Diego.
Yeah,
is that right?
On Sid Gilman's staff back in the day.
And then he went to the Raiders as a coach, and then he was the AFL commissioner. Then he was the owner of the Raiders, and moved from Oakland to L.A. and back. What a storied career, and it's hard to have an interview. It's difficult to get an interview. Adam did a great job with that.
I know. Huh? I mean, it really was the first time that he's consented to be interviewed on NFL Network, and and he did mention some names of some Raiders that are missing.
Well, he's got a good point too. With all four of the ones that he mentioned,
right,
probably will be inducted soon.
Maybe one day he'll come back and maybe he'll do his 10th introductory
speech. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
9 already.
He could crack double digits.
We're about to enter the bus room right now, and this is my first time being here. Hopefully, it's some of you first time seeing it, and I'm feeling some things in here. I'm really feeling some things in here. You see all the faces of all the players that played this game before me, and knowing how blessed I am to play this game, but seeing these players that have come before me that paved the way for me to do what I'm doing. I'm almost right now. I might be even a bad person to interview right now because I'm almost at a loss of words. And having a microphone, you're supposed to talk into the microphone, but right now I'm at a loss of words a little bit. Because like I said before, this is a hollowed room here. It's not a lot of people. There's been thousands and thousands and thousands of players to play this game, and these are the ones that are enshrined and it will be in here forever. These faces will be implanted here forever. Their legacies will live on forever. So it's a big deal. It's a great blessing for me to be in here, but it's one player in particular that I'm make sure I make my way towards. That's the man right there, riding live. If you were probably to talk with everybody who's played the safety position, I mean, there'll probably be other names that are mentioned, but this will probably be the name that'll be mentioned for most safeties and who they would love to play the game just like. So it's a big deal for me to see him in here, man. And I was definitely excited when he finally got his nod to get in. This man played the game with such an intensity. He was a leader on the field, and the tenacity he played the game with is something that I watched as I was growing up. I looked up to this man big time in trying to get to the professional ranks, and now that I'm here, hopefully I'll be able to follow him also and to get my head up on this, and that would be a blessing to be in these halls. And as Madden talked about, these statues talking to each other, when everybody's gone and all the cleaning people are gone.
I believe that the busts talk to each other. And I can't wait for that conversation.
Maybe, if I'm put in here and across the way somewhere, long when my career is over with and I'm hopefully get inducted, then, we can have a couple of conversations. This is my first time here, as I said before, and I really can't remove myself from this bus room. I'm really really drawn in here and looking at all these faces. But I encourage each and every last one of you, if you get a chance to come out and enjoy the whole facility. There's a lot of great memories now, a lot of great men that have played this game, that have paved the way for people like me to do what I do. So, in signing off, I just want to thank you for listening up and come out and enjoy yourselves here.
Enshrining from the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, please. From the Big Blue, from the New York Football Giants, Harry Carson. The coach from the Oakland Raiders, John Madden. Enshrinee, Warren Moon. Enshrinee, Reggie White's wife, Sarah White, please. And finally, completing our round table of 6 from the Dallas Cowboys, the Big Cat, Rayfield Wright. So you all get sort of thrown together in a way just because you got voted in at the same year. Who's turned into the leader of this group, Troy? I mean, you've been hanging out for 3 days and together?
Well, I don't know. I mean, when you're talking about the guys that are here, I don't know that anyone has emerged as the leader of everybody. I'll say I've had to go first a lot because of alphabetical order. You know, so I start first. And yesterday, the one day that I would have loved to have gone first, I got to go last. So.
What was it like on the bus this week, John? Madden Cruiser zipping around Canton. What was it like?
The Madden Cruiser left California on Monday, and when you travel across the country by bus, you have to leave a little pad in there. So we got here Wednesday. I was the first guy here, and when they said you're going to the Hall of Fame, I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to be late for it. I'm not going to miss anything they say.
Harry, what about you? 13-year-long wait. You had a very famous wait in many ways, shapes, and forms. Now you're here with the jacket. What are your thoughts?
It's a nice jacket.
It is a nice jacket.
You know what? To sit on that stage yesterday and look back and see all of those guys behind me and behind us. And those are guys who I grew up watching, and all of a sudden, here I am in the same club with them. I used to want to be Willie Davis. I used to have a T-shirt and take some shoe polish, because I couldn't go out and buy a jersey, take some shoe polish and write number 87 on it, and I'd go out and pretend I was Willie Davis or Buck Buchanan, and here I was on the same stage with Willie Davis. So, I mean, it is just a tremendous honor to be in this position.
Roger Staubach was a guy that I always admired as a young kid, as a quarterback, because of the way he played the game, the way he moved around as a quarterback, the way he could lead his team from behind, and also the way he led his life off the field. He led a very Christian life, and I always was very impressed by him. So I guess of all the guys that were there yesterday, Roger Staubach would be the one that stood out the most.
How does it feel for you, Rayfield?
Well, I tell you what, it certainly is a blessing, for me and for all my teammates, and certainly it was a blessing for all the offensive linemen that have played in the National Football League for the Dallas Cowboys to be the first offensive lineman to enter the Hall of Fame from the Dallas Cowboys over all the years. It's just a heavy weight, and I think I've still been in a little whirlspin ever since I got here, just to kind of pinch myself every once in a while to make sure it's real.
As I was saying yesterday, we're the class of 2006, and we're always going to be grouped together. And I remember, Troy as a player doing so many games with the Dallas Cowboys, and what he was. I mean, besides a quarterback, just a tough guy and a good guy, and everyone here. And Rayfield Wright, I remember coaching against Rayfield, and the respect that I had for him. I did all those Giant games when Harry Carson was the inside linebacker, and wherever Harry was, you weren't going to run. He played every down like it was supposed to be played. Warren Moon, just as long as he played, and the numbers that he put up, I think that this is a Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I think that they ought to recognize all pro football, and they ought to recognize Canadian football and Canadian football numbers. Reggie, it's tough because he was one of the best of all time. And, I was talking about the bus talk to each other. And, and I believe that. And someone says, who's the first guy they're going to talk to? And I said, Reggie. I'm going to tell him what a great job he did. When you're in it, you appreciate it. You guys have played a long time, and because it's hard. I mean, it's hard to make the NFL. And it's hard to play for a year, and then 5 and 10, and just doing it as long and as well as these people did. It's just a joy to be on the stage with them and to be in the class of 2006.
Where you at? Where you at, 85? Ocho Cinco. Been all around this great big world to see you do what they say you do. Where you at? I can't see you. Where you at, 85?
It's an NFL world, and we're living in it.
I like your bus. I think they did a great job. Agreed?
No, yeah, agreed. I mean, it was really good. I mean, they put a lot of time in it, in measuring and, and doing the whole thing. And the fact that it's going to be there forever, too. You just hope that they get it as close to right as possible. And I am very, very impressed and happy with that.
Well, I guess it's a combination. I mean, does he look to do you at a certain age?
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, he tried to get me kind of a half between what I am now and what I was when I was coaching.
Compilation is Reno Mahi can't make the catch. The pressure put on that time on Garcia. So here's how the process starts. The measurements are taken. This was where, in California or in Utah, John?
The first one was in California, and the second one was in Utah. I always wondered what they use calipers for. And then they used the calipers to measure me. Then he had all those pictures of me you saw there, in different stages of my life. So he was kind of doing the combination of the whole thing.
Great work.
From the class of 2006 has enjoyed himself more this weekend than our own John Madden.
Before he explained football to America, before his instant success as a broadcaster, John Madden was a natural in another role, a born coach. Al Davis put him in charge of the Raiders at age 32. By 42, he'd left the sidelines for good. The character of the Raider teams he coached, as notable as their relentless success. But it would be 28 years until this weekend before Coach John Madden would be immortalized in bronze. John, the long wait, 28 years. Had you begun to think it wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, that thought came in and out of my mind, and something that would be, so big to get into that you can't just say, oh, well, heck, forget it. And, and maybe because I waited so long and it finally came, I appreciate it more, because it can't be any more appreciated than it is.
You're reveling in it as you should. Yeah. On the other hand, it's amazing to me that it took this long. When you just look at the simple record, 8 playoff berths in 10 years, highest winning percentage of any coach with more than 100 victories, youngest coach to reach that plateau. What was the delay about?
You know what it was? I was a finalist. Like I said, like 28 years ago, I was a finalist, so I was that close. And they said the reason I didn't make it then is I was so young, I was still in my 40s, that they felt that I would go back to coaching, and then they didn't want, an active coach in the Hall of Fame. All my players that are out there, there's between 30 and 40 ex-Raider players, all stand up. Stand up, enjoy the moment. This is ours. They can't take it away from us. They can't ever take us away from us. And I love you. Thank you very, very much.
you didn't have too many rules, but you had a bunch of guys who'd bend any rules that were presented.
Yeah.
I mean, just a list of a rogues gallery of characters. Was there ever a time where you had to sit one of them down and say, you know what, I'm an easygoing guy, you pushed me too far?
Any one time, you mean? It was every day.
However many
every
times.
day with that group. Marv Hubbard, after a game, they used to go to a place, Clancy's. Then there was a cleaner's next door. It had a great big window. And Marv was so proud of the fact that he could hit that window and pop it and shatter the whole window and not cut his hand or go all the way through it.
Who wouldn't be proud of that?
No, he just had that technique. Yeah, he had that technique. Before he would go, he would leave, whatever, say it cost $50, he'd leave $50 with the bartender, give this to the lady in the morning, because I'm going to break the window. Now, he thought that was okay, so I had to, sit him down and talk, Marv, you can't, pop windows at night, it's against the law. And he'd say, yeah, but I paid for it.
You have to stay with me a moment on this one. This is a little goofy here, and you're going to say, oh, there's old Madden being goofy again, but I believe that the busts talk to each other.
I thought of that after I got, voted in, and then the more, I thought it was just a crazy idea. And then the more I thought about it, the more I think it's true. I think they really do. Because, immortality, you don't have immortality, but your bust does. And it just can't sit there like a lump. It has to do something. And it has to, and all the other guys are in there. And they turn out the lights, and you just can't be a lump. And maybe they even play. Maybe that'll be the next thing where I
John, they have no arms or legs. They have no torso.
Yeah, but they got spirit. I really think you take that group in there, they'll figure out, how to play, how to do it.
A lot of fans, especially younger fans, know you more for the broadcasting, the commercials, the video game, than for your coaching career. I'm guessing it means a lot to you to have this additional certification as a football guy.
If you were to ask me, I would say that, I'm a coach, and I'm a coach that does other things. But I never, ever, ever want to lose being a coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, once again, John Madden.
One of the great moments of this weekend, great moment for any new Hall of Famer, is when they get the jacket.
There's so many memories that I'm going to have of that of the whole weekend, but that's one of the biggest. When I got that jacket and I put it on, and I had my two sons with me there. I just felt the moment and the moment with them, and everything that they've gone through and we've all been through together. And I know you use that word, it can't put it any better than that too much, and I probably do, but doggone, it can't get any better than that. It really can't.
Chris, Madden's Raiders won the one Super Bowl in which they appeared, January 77, Super Bowl 11. They pasted the Vikings. But when you think about the other teams in that era, Shula's Dolphins, Knowles Steelers for a while, Denver, and the old Baltimore Colts had their moments. You change a play or two in 3 or 4 postseason games, he might have gotten to the Super Bowl 3-4 times like Knoll did.
Yeah, but